Well, a landmark judgment coming in from the Supreme Court of the country for the very first time in independent India. The Supreme Court laying down prescribing timelines within which the governors have to act on the bills that have been passed by the state assembly. So why is this significant? What does it do for the way forward? What does it do for the powers of the state governments? We'll try to answer some of these questions. First up, why did this issue travel to the apex court in the first place? Well, in recent memory, a number of opposition ruled states, the likes of Kerala, the likes of Tamil Nadu, Punjab, have raised concerns on multiple occasions before the highest court of the country that there are various bills that have been passed by the state assemblies, but the governor is not acting on those bills, is sitting on those bills, and thereby that's blockading the entire legislative process. Now, this is something that the apex court has expressed previously its displeasure on a number of occasions. The Supreme Court has previously observed that this is not fair for the governor to sit on a bill indefinitely. In fact, there have been instances that on a prompt from the Supreme Court is when the governor has set the ball in motion in terms of acting on the bills that have been passed by the opposition ruled state assemblies. Now, that is something that came by way of an observation, does not quite have a binding effect. This judgment that has come from the highest court of the country spells out in very clear terms that there's a very limited scope of powers that the governor has, that the governor can only do one of three things when they're sent with the bill from the legislative assembly. One is to grant the assent. The second is to withhold the assent and send the bill back. The third is to refer the bill to the president of the country. And now the Supreme Court, for the very first time in independent India, has prescribed timelines. So in case of a governor who's granting assent, well, this has to be done within the space of 1 month. In case the governor decides to withhold the assent or to refer the bill to the president, that decision needs to be made by the governor in no more than 3 months' time. And third, and this is the critical bit, in case the bill was sent back to the Legislative Assembly and the Legislative Assembly passes the same bill for the second time, in that case, the Supreme Court very clearly prescribes that there is limited discretion available to the governor. There is no scope for consideration by the governor. The governor, when confronted with the same bill for the second time, has to grant the assent, and that this assent has to come in no more than 1 month period. So for the very first time, we're looking at timelines that the governors will now have to deal with. This is one core concern that was raised by the state councils of Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Punjab government on a number of occasions. And that is what in fact brings us to the case at hand here. This was a case where the Tamil Nadu government had raised concerns about 10 bills where the governor had sat on these bills indefinitely for a very long extended period of time and then had chosen to send the bill to the president. This, the Tamil Nadu government had argued, is in complete violation of legislative norms, is complete violation of constitutional norms, is a very deliberate attempt by the governor to blockade the entire process. There were 10 bills in question. Today, the Supreme Court, by way of this judgment, has very clearly held unequivocally that because of the conduct of the governor, because he sat on it for an extended period of time and then took the decision of referring the bill to the president, this is something that the apex court frowned upon, said this needs to be checked, this practice by governors needs to be checked, and therefore has granted its judgment that these bills will now be deemed to have been approved by the governor, even though the governor has not acted to grant his assent so far as the Tamil Nadu bills are concerned. So clearly, the Supreme Court tightening the noose, sending out a very clear message to the governor, that the governor is a constitutional functionary, that the government has a certain role and responsibility, but at the same time has very limited scope of powers and discretion, that there needs to be a timeline, that the governor needs to respect the will of the people being expressed by bills that have been passed by the elected legislative assembly, and that the governor cannot blockade the legislative process.
Make informed decisions with comprehensive analysis on the go.
Strengthen your portfolio with real-time market updates on the go. Create effective strategies with insightful expert opinions on the go.
Grow on the go with CNBC-TV18, now streaming live 24/7 on YouTube.
Hey,
Hey, thank you for watching this on CNBC TV18. Hope you liked it. For more such interesting news and updates, follow CNBC TV18 on all the social media platforms.